Hello, I'm Tom, and this is Wings, a channel where we discuss all things mystical and mysterious and esoteric. And in today's video, we're going to talk about 5 scientists who were secretly spiritual seekers. First up is the father of quantum mechanics, Erwin Schrodinger. He was awarded the Nobel Prize for Physics, and you may be familiar with the Schrodinger's cat thought experiment. But what you might not know is that he was deeply spiritual. He studied and wrote about theology and philosophy, and he was a student of ancient Vedic cosmology. Schrodinger was even a member of the Vatican's Pontifical Academy of Sciences, founded by Pope Pius XI. But he was primarily focused on the Upanishads, ancient Sanskrit texts written by mystical Hindu monks thousands of years ago. Schrodinger discovered that the multiplicity is only apparent. This is the doctrine of the Upanishads. He goes on to say that the mystical experience of union with God regularly leads to this view. Schrodinger certainly had a mystical worldview and was the least secretive of these seekers. Next up is Niels Bohr, who also received the Nobel Prize in Physics. Bohr was much more secretive about his spirituality. In fact, he was a self-proclaimed atheist. However, he is quoted as saying, "I go into the Upanishads to ask questions." Like Schrodinger, Bohr found that reading these ancient spiritual manuscripts aided in his understanding of quantum physics. Bohr continued his spiritual seeking throughout his lifetime in spite of his doubts. It is said that he was greatly influenced by Christian philosopher Kierkegaard. There are those who feel he simply hid his mysticism for fear it would damage his credibility as a scientist. This next man actually spent more of his time studying theology than he did science. Sir Isaac Newton. After his death, thousands of pages of his secret writings were uncovered. He was obsessed with esoteric information encoded in the Old Testament and Talmud. He even studied alchemy and attempted to decode end-time prophecies, as seen in these papers, purchased at auction, which are now owned by the National Library of Israel. Newton kept many of his beliefs secret, so as not to be labeled a heretic. Though not a scientist per se, it was Carl Gustav Jung who invented the science of analytical psychology. He was also greatly influenced by early Christians known as the Gnostics. In fact, to this very day, one ancient Gnostic scroll is referred to as the Jung Codex, because it was his foundation which illegally purchased the manuscript on the black market and smuggled it out of Nag Hammadi, Egypt. Jung would write 7 sermons to the dead under a pen name. He also wrote this book, known only as the Red Book. It is somewhat of a diary of his exploration of his own soul. It wasn't made available to the public until 2009. It even has an illustration of his guardian angel, who Jung called Philemon. Last but certainly not least is the father of electricity, Nikola Tesla. He gave us the alternating current system which we currently use today. He was also deeply spiritual, and in his writings he used ancient Sanskrit terms such as akasha and prana. It is believed that Tesla was in correspondence with the great Swami Vivekananda and studied ancient metaphysical teachings. It would seem that these 5 men got in touch with a power greater than themselves, and through their own spiritual seeking made discoveries that would benefit mankind. If you enjoyed this, click like and subscribe. I'd appreciate it. Also, in the comments section, let me know of any other scientists who were spiritual seekers.